Genesis 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
All right, so this whole chapter is about what's happening in the last days. All right, Jacob is on his deathbed. He gathered all 12 of his sons together, and he said, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to your children's children, to the people within, or rather that come from you, that come from your tribe. All right, so here in Genesis 49, you have the breakdown of the tribes. All right, and hold this. Give me Deuteronomy 33 real quick. Deuteronomy 33 and read verse 1.
Deuteronomy All right, Deuteronomy 33 and verse 1.
Yes.
All right, and this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death.
All right, so Deuteronomy 33 is the blessing of the tribes. All right, so the Genesis 49, the chapters of Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33 give you the breakdown to the individual tribes, those amongst others. All right, so go back to Genesis 49, and we'll start back with verse 2, and we'll start with tribe of Reuben. All right, shalom, brother Mike. I see you on there. I see you watching.
Is he not working with you?
Yeah, but he's not in the room. I don't know where he's at, but I see he's watching. So all praise to the Most High.
All right, so do what now?
Genesis 49. Pick up with verse 2.
All right. Gather yourselves together, and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power.
All right. So Reuben in the west are the Creek family of tribes of Indians. All right, that includes your Seminole, your Muskogee, all right, your Creeks, right, and in the east are the Tasmanians. All right, the island off the coast of Australia. All right, we'll get into the Tasmanian part here in a second, but this is talking about the Seminole part when it says the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. All right, the history of the Seminole Wars, which happened all throughout the colonial period, from the end of the 1400s, or rather the early 1500s, when the Spaniards first set foot in Florida, all the way up until the late 1800s, early 1900s. All right, the Seminoles are the only group, the only tribe of so-called Indians to never make a treaty. All right, and any agreements that they made, they were the ones who broke them. Usually it's reversed, where America would break the treaties. All right, but Reuben was the only one that said, no, we ain't rolling like that. All right, they are unstable. Well, no, that's the next verse. Read that next verse.
Verse 4. Unstable as water, thou shalt not.
Unstable as water. All right, so the beginning of my strength and the excellency of dignity. Okay, so again, the Seminole Wars. The slaves who were over here, right? The so-called black people, so-called slaves, right? Who would run from the plantations. They would always go to Florida because they knew that the Seminoles were always fighting against the white man, right? Fighting against the colonizers, fighting against the slavers. All right. So that's how you lead to a person like John Horse, who was a Reubenite, right? A Seminole from the seed of his father, but his mother was a black woman. All right. And he led great battles in the Seminole Wars. And it's an interesting history to look into. They led to some places and moving some places that you would not expect. But unstable as water. All right. like that goes into the breaking of the treaties and not establishing a treaty with America. All right. So read that verse again, verse 4.
Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou
Thou shalt
winnest.
not excel. So you think of like, and this is what no class, low trash, Vocab Malone said about the 12 tribes chart. He said about Reuben, where he said, "Oh, good luck getting 12,000 of the Seminoles to stand up." He said, basically said, they're all wiped out. What are you gonna do? All right, just mocking Israelites. All right,
Yeah.
he's low down dirty. I don't know if you ever heard of Vocab Malone, but he's, you know, hates all Israelites.
Who you
But
talking to me?
yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, I know about Vocab Malone.
Yeah. Hates all Israelites. Going on a crusade against Israelites.
Because he wants
But
to be an Israelite.
yeah, mocking Reuben. But as the scriptures say, thou shalt not excel. Right? Reuben is not very populous like many other tribes. All right.
Right.
So and this is why. Finish out this verse.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defiledest thou it. He went up to my couch.
Right. Reuben had sex with his stepmom. All right. That's why he didn't get the birthright. That's why he did not excel, as the scripture says right here. All right. Even though he was the firstborn. So hold that and give me Deuteronomy 33. And read verse 6.
All right. All right, Deuteronomy 33 and 6. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few.
Again, this is what God said in response to low trash Malone. All right, vocab Malone. Whereas he's mocking, good luck getting some of the Seminoles to stand up. Foolishness. All right. And again, with the Tasmanians, if you research the history of the Tasmanians, and that's how I know who Reuben is over there in the spirit, because they allegedly, this is what it says if you look it up, that all the native Tasmanians were wiped out. That's what they say. But then you look at Tasmanian people, and it's not white people.
Right.
It's a mixed people. All right. And hold this. Well, actually, you read that here in Deuteronomy. You can drop. Well, hold the chapter. We're coming back to the chapter. But get Hosea. Get the book of Hosea 7 and verse 8. We'll start with that now.
Hosea 7 and 8.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see. Saturday. Lamentations, Ezekiel. Daniel.
Yeah, Hosea, right after Daniel.
Right here. All right. The book of Hosea, chapter 7 and verse 8.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
All right, when it says Ephraim here, it's talking about the northern kingdom of Israel, sometimes called Ephraim, sometimes called Israel, sometimes called Samaria. All right, and again, sometimes called the northern kingdom, whenever you look at it historically. And when it said he mixed himself among the people, that's talking about interracial marriages. All right, the northern kingdom was always more likely to do that. All right, and as a result, the northern kingdom is a cake not turned. Some are white, some are black. Like if you leave a pancake cooked on one side and you don't turn it over, one side's going to be very dark, one side's going to be very light. All right. That is what happened with Ephraim through the interracial mixing. All right. So the original Tasmanians, the original inhabitants of the island were black. But if you look at the island today, you'll see that it's lighter. But they're not white people. All right. They look more white than the original Tasmanians, but they are still Reuben. And we know this and because we're going to read it later on down in Genesis 49, but it also mentions it here in Hosea. All right, but yeah, we can go back to Deuteronomy 33.
All right.
Actually, yeah, read that again just to show why we went here in Deuteronomy 33.
What you talking about? Let Reuben live and not die, and let his men be few.
That verse.
Huh?
Yes, that verse. Verse 6, I believe it is.
Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few.
All right, so that is in reference to the not only the Seminoles, the Creek peoples, but that's a reference to the Tasmanian people in the east. All right, that's the tribe of Reuben over there. Okay, so
Right.
go back to Genesis 49, and we'll start with the next verse that we left off at. What about Simeon and Levi?
All right. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation.
All right. It said Simeon and Levi are brethren. Well, aren't all 12 tribes brothers?
Right.
This is specifically talking about how Simeon and Levi would be together in the last days. All right.
Side by side.
When you look at the Isle of Santo Domingo, the Isle of Hispaniola, you see it is divided in half. One half to the Dominicans and one half to the Haitians. All right. That is your Simeon and Levi. The Haitians are the Levites over here in the West. All right. And the Dominicans are the Simeonites. All right. Start that verse over again.
Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations.
All right. It says instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. All right. They are always at war with each other. They hate each other. All right. Hate each other with a passion. And when it goes into instruments of cruelty, they both have their forms of witchcraft over there. And the Dominicans, you have your Santeria, and then in the Haitians, you have your voodoo. All right, instruments of cruelty. Mm-hmm. All right, in the East, you have the same looking type situation as far as an isle divided down the middle. All right, it is the Isle of Papua, north of Australia. On the east, you have Papua New Guinea, and on the west, you have what is considered part of Indonesia. All right, but that's where Simeon is over there.
All right. Simeon and Levi.
Simeon and Levi is Papua New Guinea. Yes. All right, over there in the of course, when I'm mentioning these tribes, and I even showed it on the flyer that I shared with you. There's a little asterisk down at the bottom saying, throughout the east, they're also scattered. Yeah, can you mute that or something? All right. So, yeah, there's an echo going on because Brother Mike just walked in. But you can see how I forgot what I was saying. That made me lose my train of thought. But no, at the bottom of the flyer, that's what I was saying. At the bottom of the flyer, it also says there's a little asterisk, and it says that in the east, there's also 12 tribes scattered throughout every nation over there in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Right? So you're going to find tribes over there, but I'm talking about specifically in like where I've seen them. You know what I mean? Where I can see the similarities in Oceania and South Asia specifically when I'm going into 12 tribes in the east. But yeah, let's go back to Genesis 49, and you can read verse 6.
O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor be not thou united.
Right, come not into their secret sins of the witchcraft that they got going on. Right. And be not thou united. That's why they're at each other's throat. Right. All right, that's why the Dominicans hate the Haitians. That's why they're divided. All right. Right,
and it's saying, unto their assembly, mine honor be not thou united. So there's no honor in going and taking part in it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they would like Simeon and Levi, the guys in their lifetime, as far as the actual patriarchs in their lifetime, they slew a whole city when they were together. In wickedness. They deceived the city, and then they went and killed everyone in the city.
Right, when they was healing from circumcising themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They were all sore.
Right. It was the third day after everybody got circumcised.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they kept
exactly.
doing everything that they was asked of by Israel and the family.
Yeah.
But yet, Simeon and Levi still went over there and like drug her out. You know, she was screaming, telling them she hated them.
Yeah. And they they did that.
Right.
All in response to what
Israel cussed them out when they got home.
Do what?
Israel cussed them out when they got home. He said, "What y'all idiots done? Now everybody's going to kill us."
Yeah, exactly.
If nothing else, they ain't going to do business with us.
Yeah, exactly. So he said, "Yeah, y'all made enemies of the people of the land." But yeah, that's a story for another time. So yeah, the people are just like their patriarchs. As far as right now, they're in wickedness, and if they were to come together in their wickedness, then there's no telling what kind of evil they would do together. So that's why they're divided. The only way that they're gonna come together is through the laws of God. That's the only way the Dominicans and the Haitians gonna get along. All right. So and it gives the reason right here. After be not thou united. Pick up from there.
All right, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall.
No, in their self will they dig down a wall.
Okay.
They broke down the wall to Shechem, I believe it was. Yeah.
Shechem. All right, cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
Right, exactly. So that goes into how Levi were the priests. They didn't have land, all right, because he couldn't put Simeon and Levi in land next to one another, and Simeon. If you look into Simeon's allotment of land, it was not next to another tribe. It was all within Judah. It was not like where they had borders and stuff like that. So yeah, hold this, and we'll get into Deuteronomy a little bit about Levi. This is more about the priestly duties. This is Deuteronomy 33 and verse 8.
All right. And of Levi he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, whom thou didst prove didst strive at the waters of Meribah.
Yeah, Meribah. So yeah, it's going into how Moses was a Levite, and he anointed, obviously the Lord told him to anoint his brother Aaron, and Aaron's lineage became the priests. All right. If Aaron was around today, he would be called a Haitian or a so-called Papuan. All right. So keep reading.
All right. Who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him. Neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor knew his own children. For they have observed thy word and kept thy covenant.
Right, exactly. So the Holy Spirit that was on the Levites was to keep the law above all else, above family, above friends. And if you read the scriptures on cleanness, how the Levites had to be clean, they couldn't even touch any dead body. They couldn't go to funerals. They couldn't do any of that. Doesn't matter if it was their father or their mother. Right? The high priest couldn't do none of that. All right. So keep reading.
They shall teach Jacob thy judgments and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and whole burnt sacrifice upon thine altar.
Yeah. The priests. Read.
Bless, Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again.
Oh, that's heavy right there. That's heavy right there. Because I didn't even know this was in here. But as you read this, I see how this is going into how the Haitian Revolution was the first revolution of its kind over here in the West. All right. They overcome their enemies. Napoleon tried to come against them. And Napoleon was the guy at the time.
Right.
He was taking over the world. But, it was the Haitians who was able to fight against him and become free before anybody else was doing that.
Right.
All right. So that shows you that God was with them even in that time, before they were righteous. All right. So go back to Genesis 49. And start with verse 8. Pick up with Judah.
All right, hang on one second. Pick up verse 8.
Yes. With Judah,
All right.
wherever that is.
All right, verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
All right, so for the hand of Judah to be in the neck of the enemies, man, there's always going to be butting heads between Judah and the enemy. All right, and the specific enemy that it's talking about right here is the daughter of Babylon, Edom. All right, go to Zechariah 2 and verse 7.
All right. Zephaniah. Zechariah 2 and 7.
2 and verse start at verse 6.
All right, verse 6. And the seacoast shall be dwellings.
Zechariah 2 and verse 7.
Oh, this is Zephaniah.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. All right, Haggai. Here we go.
Yeah,
Zechariah.
yeah.
2. All right. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord.
That land of the north that it's talking about here is North America. All right? Read.
And it even rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, saith the Lord.
Right, so it's not excuse me. So when it says flee from the land of the north, it says specifically, North America. But he said, I've also spread you out everywhere else too.
Right.
And that's Judah, the so-called African Americans, so-called black people, everywhere. All right? Like, yeah, keep reading though. We'll get into that here in a second.
Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon.
That dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. All right? The daughter of Babylon is here, Babylon the Great. All right? North America. All right? So go back to Genesis 49 and verse 8.
All right, Genesis 49, verse 8.
Yeah.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
All right, so thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. You see, you saw that with the civil rights movement. All right? You saw that with certain slave rebellions like with Nat Turner. All right? And even in places like South Africa, you saw that with the revolution after apartheid. Okay? And the thing these places have in common, and that's how we know where Judah is, because they're going to be dwelling with the enemy, dwelling with Esau, dwelling with so-called Europeans. All right? Read. When it says, thy father's children shall bow down before thee, they were the kings. All right? The lineage of David became the kings over Israel. All right? Read.
Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Exactly. So that was the civil rights movement when Judah was starting to unify. All right? Judah was the one leading. And then behind Judah, behind so-called African Americans, you had groups like the Young Lords and the Brown Berets, where Latinos were standing up. Behind them, you had the American Indian movement. All right? Obviously, where Indians were standing up and doing the same thing, fighting for civil rights. All right? Read.
All right. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up?
All right, so he couched as a lion, meaning ready to pounce, ready to go to war, ready to. That's what the Black Panthers were doing. they were ready to go to war. All right. But it said, as an old lion, they've stayed couched. They didn't never pounce. All right. They didn't never start a revolution here in America. All right. As an old lion. That's where we're at today, where so-called African Americans are complacent. All right. Who shall rouse him up? Jesus Christ. That's who's going to rouse him up. The word of God. That's who's going to rouse him up. All right. But right now, the people are in a dead state. Okay. Okay. So read verse 10.
Verse 10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Right, so that's talking about Christ. And unto Christ, just like where it said, who shall rouse him up? All right? Christ is the one that's going to rouse up the Israelites. Judah specifically. Judah to start with. All right? And unto him, unto Christ, shall the gathering of the people be. All right? So keep reading. Read on down through verse 12.
All right. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine.
Right, so that's when Christ rode down on the ass. That's what that prophecy is talking about. All right? That happened in Matthew 21, I believe. Read.
He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
Now, that's prophecy that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
That's prophecy of Christ's return, right, when he brings judgment to the world. He's going to be wearing a garment that is stained in blood. You read about that in Isaiah 63. You read about that in Revelation 19. All right? Christ is coming back to slay many. I'll put it like that, because that's how the scriptures put it.
He's coming back for blood.
Yes. Yes. All right. So read verse 12.
All right. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
Right. So this isn't just literal, because Christ drank wine and he drank milk, but it's also spiritual. It's also metaphorical. The wine of the vengeance of God. Again, I'll put it like that. All right. The wine is representative of blood. All right. And his teeth white with milk is representative of the word of God. All right. I want to prove that real quick. This is just real quick. This hasn't anything to do with the tribe. This is about milk. 1 Peter 2:2.
It's at 1 Peter 2:2.
Yes.
As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
Okay, right there. So the milk of the word. All right. That's what we need to what did he say? I already lost it. Will you read it again?
Desire the
sincere milk of the word. Exactly. Yeah. That's what we need to desire. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Desire the sincere milk of the word, that we may grow thereby. Okay. So with that, go to Deuteronomy 33 and read that about Judah. Get back on Judah for a second.
All right, you talking about verse 7?
Yeah.
All right, verse 7. And this is the blessing of Judah. And he said, Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou an help to him from his enemies.
All right. Right. So it says, Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. All right. So Judah, so-called black people, were the first ones talking about the Israelites. They were the first ones bringing the word to the so-called blacks, Latinos, and American Indians, saying that we're all one people. All right. Judah was the first to do that. Specifically, it came out of New York, mostly. All right. Of course, you had slaves who like Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosper, Denmark Vesey, who rallied the people with the scriptures. But it came out of New York specifically when they started talking about all 12 tribes. All right. So again, that was Judah. All right. Let his hand be sufficient for him, and be thou an help to him from his enemies. All right. So again, don't all Israel need help from their enemies? Yes. But Judah is the one whose hand is in the neck of the enemies. He's always with the enemies. He's the children of Zion that dwell with the daughter of Babylon. All right. So it's a real easy spot where Judah is, right? That's how we know so-called African Americans are Judah. All right, that's how we know Australian Aborigines in Australia, they're Judah. They're there dwelling with the enemy. That's how you know you got Judah in parts of Europe, whether it be the UK or Western Europe, and again in South Africa. All right, that's how you know that's Judah, because they're dwelling with the enemy. All right, so from there, let's go back to Genesis 49 and start reading about Zebulun. And verse, what is that, 13? Yeah, 13.
All right. Genesis 49:13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon.
Zidon, right. So if you look at ancient maps of Zebulun and where the tribes were allotted, he didn't go all the way to Zidon. He didn't go all the way to the sea. That's talking about, again, in the last days. That's how we know that the Panama Canal cuts right through Zebulun's region. All right. The Central Americans are Zebulun according to the Bible. And in the east, what they used to call the East Indies, that haven of ships, what they now call Indonesia, is Zebulun. All right. The haven of ships. Big maritime trade going through there. All right. So from there, because you finished that verse in, yeah. And Zidon used to be a trading post. All right. It used to be the maritime trading post. That's why it says unto Zidon. Modern day Zidon would be like Panama Canal or like Indonesia. All right. So from there, go to Deuteronomy 33 and read about Zebulun and 18.
All right. 18. And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents.
Exactly. So when it talks about Zebulun and Issachar being together, all right, Zebulun and Issachar is always together. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know that Issachar is the so-called Mexicans, all right? So Issachar and Zebulun right there together. The Mexicans and the Central Americans right there together. And Issachar in the east are the Filipino people, all right?
Yeah.
And right there, they're right there north of Indonesia. But when it says, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents, that's talking about in their feasts, all right? In their feast days, okay? Read that next verse. Read verse 19.
Oh, my bad. Deuteronomy 33.
Yeah, 33 and 19.
They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of treasures hid in the sand.
All right. So that's talking about the great resources and the great aquatic marine life. Again, I'll put it like that. That's off the coast of Mexico and Central America and the resources that they have there. All right. And again, in Indonesia and in the Philippines, because all those over there are just, I believe, hundreds of islands apiece. All right. So from there, because I mentioned that it's talking about their feasts, right? And if you go back in the Middle Ages, Issachar and Zebulun, the Mexicans and the Central Americans, were called the Aztecs and the Mayans. All right. They used to have joint feasts together in the Yucatan. In fact, the word Yucatan comes from the Hebrew word Yaktan or Yakatan, which means a small dispute. They were having a small dispute whether the Yucatan belonged to the Aztecs or the Mayans. So they just settled it and said, okay, we'll just have the feast here.
Right.
All right. But as you may know about the Aztecs and the Mayans, they eventually went off and started sacrificing people and eating their hearts and crazy things like that. The Bible talks about that too. All right. Go to Hosea chapter 8. And read start with verse 11. All right, because remember what it said here in Deuteronomy 33 about going in and going out of their tents,
Right.
all right, on the feast, okay? And it says there they're going to offer the sacrifices of righteousness. Why do you think all them pyramids was built around the Yucatan and in Mexico and in Central America? Because
Right.
they built those as temples originally for the Lord.
Right.
But, Israel went off. So read that here in Hosea 8 and 11.
8 and 11. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hosea chapter 8 and verse 11. Because Ephraim had made many altars to sin, altars shall be unto him to sin.
And again, I don't want people to get caught up on Ephraim because it's not talking about the tribe of Ephraim. It's talking about the kingdom of Ephraim. All right, the northern kingdom of Israel. Issachar and Zebulun are two northern kingdom tribes. All right,
Right.
altars to sin. Read.
All right. I have written to him the great things of my law, but they were counted as a strange thing.
Exactly. They had the law. The Aztecs and the Mayans had the law of God, and they were keeping it originally. But they counted as a strange thing as generations went on. All right. Read.
They sacrificed flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings and eat it.
You see it right there. They sacrifice human flesh for the sacrifices of God's offering, and they eat it. Read.
Right. All right. But the Lord accepted them not.
Right. But the Lord did not accept that, clearly. All right. God was not playing with that foolishness. All right. Read.
Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt.
He said they're going back into captivity.
Right.
All right. That's what the conquistadors came and did. That's what Hernan Cortez came and did. He subjugated that whole area.
Yep.
All right. Read.
And right here in Hosea.
Yes. Verse 14.
For Israel hath forgotten his maker and builded temples.
Built all them pyramids down through there. And they say that I forget which pyramid it is. Maybe it's the one at Tenochtitlan, something like that. But they say it has the exact same dimensions as the Great Pyramid in Giza.
Right.
That's what they say. How would they know the dimensions of that pyramid unless they were there?
Right. And he'll build it.
Yeah. All right. Read.
All right. And Judah hath multiplied fenced cities, but I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof.
Right. So God said, I'm taking both kingdoms into captivity. I'm taking both kingdoms back into bondage, back into Egypt. All right. So go back to Genesis 49 and 14. And all praise to the Most High. I like how, it just got set up for, because 14 is about Issachar in the modern day.
Right. Let's see. It's just 49. All right. Let's see. All right, here we go. 14. And Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
All right. That's the symbol of Issachar is the burro. All right. The donkey, the ass, couching down between two burdens. Here in the West, the burden is in between America and the subjugation and the oppression that will happen to a Mexican here in America, or staying in Mexico and being mistreated by the cartel and being under that subjugation, being under that oppression. All right. And over there in the East, in the Philippines, it's between China and going under that subjugation, that persecution, or going to America or anywhere else where you're going to face those same kind of hardships. Because a lot of Filipino people actually move to like Saudi Arabia for jobs. It's messed up over there. And again, or you can stay in the Philippines and become a farmer where you ain't getting paid nothing.
All right.
So, couching down between the two burdens. The burden would be either stay at home in oppression or go abroad and be oppressed. All right. Verse 15.
And he saw that rest was good in the land, that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
Right, exactly. So the rest is good. That's a siesta, and the land that it was pleasant. Mexico is very beautiful. Once you get down into it, once you get past that northern desert, very beautiful. Same as the Philippines. Very beautiful
And
land.
bro, if you
But
notice how all cartels start out, the usually the man that starts them or men started out as like their family was farmers, so they saw that the land was beautiful. And what did it say? They took on the burden to shoulder to bear, and so
yeah,
they started
bowed his
doing what
shoulder
they're
to
supposed to.
bear, became a servant unto tribute.
Right, exactly. Like started seeing that the land was beautiful and using it for what it was used for and farming and stuff, and then the things that they farm, either they end up switching, farming different things, or the things that they farm became, majorly trafficked as far as, more necessarily, coca than, weed, but still.
All right, so it says became a servant to tribute, right? So that's going into like how the low wages here in
Right.
America for Mexican, all right? And again, like I said, for the Filipino in China, getting paid next to nothing, all
Mm-hmm.
right? Become a servant unto tribute, okay? All right. So from there, we can pick up with Dan.
What, next week?
No, no, read it. Verse
Oh,
16.
yeah. All right. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel.
All right, so it says, Dan shall judge the people as one of the tribes of Israel, right? So why aren't they all tribes of Israel? Why would Jacob had to mention that he's gonna be like one of the tribes? Because Jacob already knew that Dan was not going to be a tribe that lasts. All right, so and it's talking when it says judge his people, it's going to like Samson. Samson was a Danite, but hold this and give me Amos. Amos 8 and verse 11. No,
Amos 8 and 11.
not 11. It's verse 14. That's my bad.
And I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they
No,
shall.
8 and 14 in Amos.
That's not where I'm at. That's 9. They that swear by the sin of Samaria, and say, Thy God, O Dan, liveth, and the manner of Beersheba liveth. Even they shall fall and never rise up again.
Right, so Dan fell and never rose up again. All right, the specific sin of Dan was that Dan made, or rather by Jeroboam, a wicked king over the northern kingdom of Israel, made Dan the priest. All right, they took on that and they made the people to worship false gods. All right, and for that, Dan was cut off as a tribe. All right, and you see that in Revelation 7 when God calls all the tribes in the last days. Dan will not be present. All right. So from there, go back to Genesis, and we can read 17. I'll explain it briefly.
All right, 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Serpent in the way, adder in the path. Those were the inhabitants of the lesser Antilles over here in the west, where Benjamin sort of replaced them, where the so-called West Indian blacks replaced the original people of those islands. Though if you look at the map, it kind of looks like a serpent shape. All right, but a lot of those Caribs, what they call them Carib Indians, they just got wiped out. You know. Other ones assimilated amongst the Benjamites. All right, but and same over there in the east. I assume those Marianas Islands look like snakes, but that's actually Ephraim once we get to it. But it's Ephraim now, I should say. But yeah, let's keep reading.
All right, I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord. All right, verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome it at the last.
Exactly, a troop shall overcome Gad. Right, that's that F troop. That's that U.S. cavalry overcome the American Indians. All right. And it's the same as the so-called Polynesians over there, from Easter Island to Tonga. All right. I wish Malachi was on here because we had met a brother from Tonga in Arizona, and he was telling us the history of Tonga, and it sounded very similar to Gad and the reservations over in the West, as far as like how they had to come to peace treaties and never got conquered.
Right.
All right. So Gad, but he shall overcome at the last, because Gad is going to repent and be saved. And you start to see Gad overcoming a bit now, where Gad in the West, so-called American Indians, have basically the rights to all the water in Arizona. All right. They have to, when I say they, meaning the state of Arizona, has to buy their water from the reservations. All right.
That's cool.
So go to Deuteronomy 33 and verse 20.
Deuteronomy 33 and verse 20. And
Yes.
of Gad he said, Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head.
Right. So it said, Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. So going back to Gad the man had 7 children. All right. And those children became different tribes, I should say, different families of Gadites. And if you look into the, quote unquote, ethnic groups of American Indians, wouldn't you know it, there's 7 different families. All right. 7 different types of American Indians.
Right.
I'm not counting Reuben and the Creek family, or Issachar and things like that. But, and again, enlarged Gad, like the Polynesians, for example, have the most islands down there. All right, in the south of the Pacific, from Easter Island all the way to to the Tonga. Yeah, to Tonga. So yeah, and he said he dwelleth as a lion. He teareth the arm with the crown of the head. That was the blood brother pacts that chiefs would make with one another, and that's why I mentioned the crown of the head, because the crown of the head was very unique, I should say, to the Gadites. All right, the crown that the chiefs wear is very unique, feathered. All right. So from there, I do want to mention something else about Gad real quick, because I went way too far. In the a lot of people picture Gad, picture the American Indians, I should say, in teepees, like they only ever lived in teepees, which a lot did, but that was mainly the Sioux. But a lot did. But again, that is scripture. That is prophecy. All right. If I could find it, I know it's in Hosea. And notice that we keep going back to Hosea, because Hosea is prophecy to the northern kingdom. All right. It's prophecy to the northern kingdom. Man, I have to find this. Keep reading that in Deuteronomy 33 while I find this.
Keep reading what?
About Gad in Deuteronomy 33.
I finished it. Oh, okay. And 21.
No, you didn't.
And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated, and came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord and his judgments with Israel.
Exactly. So first of all, where it says that he provided the first part for himself, all right, meaning the best of the land over here in the West is the U.S. land. All right, that's why the American base of operations is here, for example, and not Brazil. All right, and first part for himself. Again, like I said, Polynesian. You got Tahiti, the best part, Samoa. All right, first part for himself. There, in a portion of a lawgiver was he seated. And that's what you see a lot with Gad, as far as you see Gad wearing the blue ribbon and the fringes more than you see the rest of the tribes over here. All right, some of them did, but that's because Gad was the one enforcing it. All right, and if you read about the Polynesians over there in the Pacific, not all of those islands are Polynesian islands. All right, at least they're not all called that way. But the Polynesians would spread out and go to these other islands and influence the culture on these islands. And I'm not saying it was always in righteousness, but that's a trait that Gad had, asserting the will. All right. It was supposed to be the will of the Lord, but it turned into wickedness, as it always does with Israel. All right. So, did you finish that verse?
Yeah.
Of course, our lawgiver. Yeah, he came with the heads of the people. All right. We're about to read about the heads of the people later. Ephraim and Manasseh, talking about traveling. All right, and taking the tribes where they are today. All right. So we read that about Gad. And I couldn't find this. If I find this here, then we might go back to it here in Hosea. But yeah, I just can't find it right now. About dwelling in the teepees. So we'll skip over it. Go back to where you were in
Genesis.
yeah, I'm still looking. In Genesis 49 though.
All right.
Oh yeah, hold on. No. I got you. I found it. All praise to the Most High. Here in Hosea 12.
Hosea 12.
And verse 9. That's what I mean right there.
And I that am the Lord God from the land of Egypt will yet make thee dwell in tabernacles as in the days of the solemn feast.
Right, so tabernacle is the same thing as a tent. All right? Same thing as a teepee. All right? So when these prophecies came to Hosea, speaking to the whole northern kingdom, right? But some prophecies are concerning some tribes more than others. The same way that some curses happen to some tribes more than other tribes. All right. So this specifically happened more with Gad, and specifically with the Sioux, who would build their teepees, set up their tents, and chase around a buffalo. All right. So go back to Genesis 49, and we'll pick up with what was that, verse 20?
Yeah, that's what we was just reading. No, that's what we're on now. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties.
All right, so Asher, it says his bread shall be fat, meaning his resources shall be abundant. All right, and it says he shall yield royal dainties. Dainties refers to sweets. Right. All right, and that is your sugar cane. All right,
yeah,
that's was prevalent in Brazil.
Royal,
all right,
dainties. Also, that was for a period of time, like with the Spanish and then the English, that was the Crown's sugar. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So royal.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And a lot of that came from Brazil. All right. But also in the East, you have Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. That is also Asher. Their resources are abundant in those areas. All right. In South Asia. All right.
Right.
So over here, Asher is Colombia to Uruguay, the northern part of South America, including Brazil.
Right.
All right.
That makes sense because that's the main places like Esau went warring, over drugs to control the movement of drugs. Is with Asher, and then same place over there in the east you was naming.
Yeah.
With the
exactly.
Vietnams and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, from there go to Deuteronomy where it also talks about Asher. Deuteronomy 33, and that is verse what, 24? Yes, 24.
And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil.
Right, so that would be like your Venezuela. All right, very abundant and rich in oil. All right. And when it says let him be acceptable to his brethren, those are those, so-called Amazonian tribes deep in the Amazon who don't mess with people, and they're still what some people would say uncivilized. All right, that's who that's talking about. That's an attribute to some of Asher. He said, let him be acceptable to his brethren. All right, they can still repent. All right, keep reading.
Thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be.
And the Hebrew word for iron is barzil. All right. So that lets you know where Asher is. Okay. And again, it said, let Asher be blessed with children. Brazil's like one of the most populated countries in the world. One
Right.
of hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions. But yes, that is Asher. So from there, you can go back to Genesis 49. I believe that talks about Naphtali in verse 21. Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, are we pretty close to wrapping it up?
yeah, it's Naphtali and there's Joseph and Benjamin.
All right. Verse 21, Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words.
Right, so Naphtali were those nomadic tribes of South America. They weren't the Incas back in the Middle Ages. They were the nomadic tribes. All right, give goodly words. Buenos Aires, which is in Argentina, literally means good air, good words. All right, so from there go to Deuteronomy and Naphtali. Well, this is going to describe Naphtali as well. So Deuteronomy 33 and verse 23.
Verse 20. Verse 23. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessing of the Lord, possess thou the west and the south.
Right, so satisfied with the favor and full with the blessing of the Lord. All right, so they got good resources. They got beautiful land too, right? But it said specifically, possess the west and the south. And again, that is not so in ancient Israel. They didn't have the west and the south of the land of Israel. But if you look at South America, the west and the south is comprised primarily of Argentina and Chile. All right. And over in South Asia, the west and the south, from Myanmar to Singapore, it's all one land. All right. The west and the south is one whole peninsula. All right. It's Myanmar to Singapore. All right. So I'm gonna get my charger real quick. You can read starting with Joseph. All right, in Genesis 49.
All right. Verse 22, Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him.
All right, start. Well, actually, this is talking about the invading conquistadors. That's what this is talking about. And when it says his branches, that's talking about his daughters. All right, as you see, if you got a 1611 King James version, when it says branches, it's a little asterisk out next to it, and it says daughters out to the side.
Okay.
That's talking about how specifically the children of Joseph, those women, but really all Northern Kingdom women are more likely to have sex with other nations' men, all right, than the Judite women, than the so-called black women. Latina women are more likely to have sex with men outside their race, all right, basically. So from here, hold that. We're going to come back to it. Give me Hosea, chapter 9. I keep on going back. There. Where do I want to start? Okay. Yeah, start with 11. Start with 11. Remember we read
What chapter?
earlier about Ephraim has mixed himself among the people.
Right.
Huh?
You said 9
Yeah.
and 11?
Yeah, 9 start with verse 11. All right.
All right.
So Ephraim had mixed himself among the people. And you may say, well, with interracial mixing, how do you know all of them are Israelites? Right? Because some, some may be men, some may be women who mix with the other nations, right? And they may bring forth, boys and girls, right? So how are you gonna know where the seed of Israel is? Because remember, the seed of Israel comes through the lineage of the fathers. All right. So that's what it says in Numbers 1 and 18, I should say. All right. So pick that up with Hosea 9 and 11.
All right. Hosea 9, verse 11. As for Ephraim, their glory shall flee away like a bird, shall fly away like a bird.
Yes.
From the birth and from the womb and from the conception.
So now it's going to talk about the birth and the conception of these Ephraimites, whether they like when they give birth. All right, read.
Though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them, that there shall not be a man left.
He said
You
right there,
know,
there shall not be a man left. So these daughters who have sex with these other nations, especially during those times, during those colonizing times, right? They would go and have sex with the conquistadors, those women, but God would not leave them a man child. He would not further the seed of the enemy. All right, read.
all right. No, depart from. Yeah, woe also to them when I depart from them.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place,
Right.
but Ephraim shall break.
Puerto Rico, very beautiful. All right. Cuba, very beautiful.
Right.
Those are your children of Joseph. In the west are Puerto Rico and Cuba. In the east is the so-called Micronesians. That would be your Ephraimites from Hawaii to Palau in the North Pacific, and the New Zealanders in the South Pacific would be your Manassites. All right. So go keep reading.
All right. But Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer.
You see that right there? So that's what these daughters would do. Bring forth children of the murderer, the conquistadors. All right, read.
Give them, O Lord, what wilt thou give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts.
Exactly. So God did not further the seed of the conquistadors amongst the Hispanics, amongst the Latinos. That's how we know the seed of Israel is always going to excel when this interracial mixing happens. That's how we can say, even though they may be light skinned, even though they may be looking white, they are Israelites. Even though Israelites didn't originally look white, they look brown or black, right? Now we can say that Ephraim is a cake not turned, because that's what the scriptures say. All right, and that's how
I
I
think
can sit here and say, huh?
I think big picture is more part of the final test of faith.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot to do with it when it comes to individuals.
Right.
All right.
And also, like on a grand level, because look, what's IUIC's main problem? Or camps with that mindset of Judah being the southern kingdom.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things there is whenever they can't tell the difference between Israel and Esau.
Yeah. So we know that again the scriptures talk about wheat amongst the tares and things like that.
Right.
But yeah. So that's how we can say. Well, that's how I said earlier that the Tasmanians weren't wiped out, even though that's what people say, because the seed of Israel is always going to excel. All right. Okay. So so yeah, keep reading. We can read through verse 16.
All right, all their wickedness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them. For the wickedness of their doings I will drive them out of mine house. I will love them no more. All their princes are revolters.
Right. So that's why we came over to this land in the first place, because God drove us out of our homeland, which is there in the land of Israel, from the Euphrates to the Nile. All right, that whole land right there. All right. Read.
Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. Yet though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb.
You see that right there? So those Israelite women during the colonization days who mixed with the slave masters, they would bring forth daughters. They would not bring forth men children, because God would not let it excel. God would not let it excel. But there's always been a trope of those heathen women want to be with Israelite men. So that's how that excelled. All right, that's how the seed of Israel excelled, I should say. So go back to Genesis 49, and where did you leave off?
Let's see.
The archer shot at him. You read that. That's the conquistador. That's the colonizer. All right.
Yeah.
Verse 24.
Verse 24. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd Yeah, the shepherd, the stone of Israel.
Yeah,
Even by
exactly. God always protected the northern kingdom. Even when it seemed like he didn't, he was still with us. All right, read.
even by the God of their father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The
Exactly.
ble-
So that's what we were just reading about. The blessings of the breast and of the womb. How the seed of Israel was always going to excel versus the seed of the other nations. And that's how I can sit here and say that those Pacific Islanders are mostly Israelites. First of all, because the curses that I've seen over there with the blackbirding, that's the Deuteronomy 28:68, that's the slave ships, but and the colonization. Not only that, but I know that during the Middle Ages there was a scramble for them islands. All right, but mostly between the Israelites and the I had to fix that real quick. Um, between the Israelites and the Japhethites because they both like islands. They both like island people. All right, but even where the Japhethites did move in with the Israelites, the seed of Israel was always going to excel. And there's still Japhet over there, sure, but that's mostly Israel. That's mostly Israel over there. So read verse 26.
The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren.
Exactly. So hold that and give me Deuteronomy 33 and pick up with verse 13. Again, the blessings of Joseph.
Verse 33 and 13. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of the Lord be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep that couches beneath.
All right, so when it says the deep that couches beneath, all right, that's going into, if you look at a topographical map of Puerto Rico, you will see that the northern the northern coast of Puerto Rico is shallow waters, all right? But once you go beneath to the south of Joseph, you see there's a huge drop off, all right? That's what that's going into. And again, in the Pacific, Guam, if you go right off the coast of Guam, Marianas Trench, the deepest point in all the ocean, all right? So that's how I can sit here and say that's Ephraim, all right? The deep that couches beneath Joseph. And I know Hawaii is Ephraim because they sent Puerto Ricans over there in slavery. All right. So keep reading.
And for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things brought forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills. And,
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful, beautiful resources in Puerto Rico. Beautiful place. Beautiful place. Read.
and for the
And Hawaii.
precious things of the earth and fullness thereof, and for the goodwill of him that dwelt in the bush. And let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from his brethren.
All right. Read.
His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. And them shall push, and them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh.
Exactly. So that's how I can sit here and say that Ephraim had, all the islands in the north, whereas Manasseh just has the New Zealand, right? Because it's the 10,000s of Ephraim, whereas the thousands of Manasseh. And if you read in Genesis 48 with the blessings of Ephraim, he's going to be many nations, whereas Manasseh is going to be, he's going to be populous as well. But it said they pushed the people together to the ends of the earth. So they led the travel expedition over here to the west from the east. And if you look at the ends of the earth, on the other end, in the Pacific, you have Hawaii on the north and New Zealand on the south side. All right? That's the ends of the earth. So, yeah, go back and we'll read Benjamin, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, let's see. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the methods of the Maroons in Jamaica. All right? And Raven as a wolf is going into the accent that the West Indians have. All right, it's unlike the accents of anybody else in the Caribbean. All right, but from there, I believe there's something about Benjamin in Deuteronomy 33 as well.
Yeah. It's hang on. Right here in
Where?
12.
Yeah. Okay, read that.
All right, verse 12. And of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, and the Lord shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders.
Right. So if you look at the if you look at the Caribbean, first of all, when you go to all the islands of the West Indian islands, a lot of them storms that come through miss them. All right, they don't come through there. All right, and dwell between his shoulders. The positioning is that it's in the middle of the Caribbean, I should say. It's not on either side, it's between. The same way with the on the east from the Solomon Islands, and imagine why they're called the Solomon Islands, all the way to Fiji. It's between what would be Gad and Levi, all right, between the priests of the Lord, all right. So from there, I know it's kind of long, but and we actually did it pretty briefly compared to what we could have done as far as all the different resources we could have pulled out on each tribe. But I just wanted people to get an understanding of who the 12 tribes are over in the east and over here in the west. All right. And again, there are Israelites dispersed throughout all countries of Africa, Asia, and Europe as well. So you need to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, you want to get Matthew 26, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. Anything you want to bring out? Any questions you want to ask? Anything like that?
No, not this week.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. 26, Matthew 26 and verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told for a memorial of her.
Okay, so all praise to the Most High for that sister. She anointed Christ's body for his ultimate sacrifice. All praise to the Most High for you, Brother Gad, for all the viewers. And with that, I say shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath.
Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Stay in the spirit, Israel.